Hello, fellow golfers, and welcome to episode 11 of Senior to Scratch. What's my age again? As usual, I invite everyone to go onto my YouTube channel that's in the show notes if you want to see what I am talking about on your screen. If not, I will try to explain it as well as I can. So, this past weekend was our long weekend, May long weekend in Canada, Victoria Day long weekend. And as usual in Calgary, the weather was not good. And in theory, it should be a lot better, but for some reason, a long weekend always seems to have bad weather. So I braved out the awful golfing conditions with the extreme wind, rain, sleet, cold, and even snow. I think it was somewhere in the 30s Fahrenheit most of the time in those 3 days. I did get 2 rounds in and 11 holes of the next round, but we were forced to quit after the lightning warning, gale force winds, which started blowing my pull cart away, and then getting hailed on and snowed on as we frantically ran up the hill to try to get back to shelter. So on the 2 days that I did finish, I did shoot under 80. I shot 79 on Holiday Monday, which I feel was one of my best rounds, even though I just barely broke 80. Just considering the constant rain, wind, and cold, the wind gusts were probably in excess of 30 miles an hour. It was anywhere from a 2 to 3 club wind. So I didn't hit very many greens except for getting an albatross on the first par five. I was 6 inches from the hole. It was downwind, so it was a driver 8 iron or something like that. Put it to about 6 inches and made the eagle. With all that being said, basically on Tuesday, the day after I had played 3 rounds of golf on the previous long weekend, my muscles were extremely sore. Woke me up in the middle of the night. I couldn't get back to sleep because every time I twisted and turned, it sent a shot of pain into my body. So this got me doing some research on aging again. So I happened to find this on X the other day from Lou Stagner's X feed, and this data that he's showing below is from the Arcos Golf database. And it just looks like a table of numbers if you just look at it. I mean, it shows what the handicap index is on a percentage basis for different age categories. For instance, for the 50 to 54-year-old cohort to be a single digit handicapper or better, that's 0.5% for plus index. Add that to 7.2 for 0 to 4.9, and add that to 25.1% for 5.0 to 9.9. And that'll give you roughly whatever that is, 33% or so of the 50 to 54-year-old cohort as being single digit handicappers or better. I think everybody's much better and more comfortable with a chart view of this, so you can see with this color coded chart the same data that's a lot easier to visualize. So for that same 50 to 54 category, if you look at the dark green bar and below, that's your roughly 33% of that age category that is a single digit handicap. Now, really, there's not much to glean from this except for a couple of things. The first observation is how good teenagers are. Presumably, they show talent and promise and enter into junior golf programs. On the chart, over 60% of the under 19-year-old category are single digit or better. This carries into the 20s with 40 to 50% remaining that single digit. On the other end of the age spectrum, you see a pretty steep decline once you hit 70 years old in terms of the number of or percentage of golfers that are even better than say 20 index, it declines fairly sharply. So like any good engineer, I will just ignore those numbers. No, just kidding. I'm going to consider those as outliers, and there's rationale, I believe, that's decent behind this. I think like for myself back in my younger days, I think around 30 plus years of age, non golfers may have more time and disposable income to start learning to golf, as well as it being a good way to link up with potential business deals. So I'll focus on this 30 to 60-year-old category, and specifically the low single digits. So from plus to 4.9 index, since I'm trying to get to scratch. And what you'll notice, and to me, what was strikingly obvious, was that going from the 44 to 49 age category up to the next one of 50 to 54, it actually had the largest drop off in the percentage of golfers that are in that low single digit range. So I'm wondering, well, why is this? Like, what happens in those 10 years? Presumably, we've gained all of that course management knowledge and short game touch that doesn't require a lot of strength. The only obvious answer I can come up with is that our bodies basically start breaking down in our early 50s, whether it's nagging injuries or inflammation that cause inefficient swings or inconsistent golf swings, or maybe it's just from muscle deterioration. So I was doing some research and I found this Stanford Lifestyle Medicine article from 2023 titled Stop the Clock: The Shocking Truth About Age-Related Muscle Loss and Steps to Fight Back. And I'll post that link in the show notes as well. Um, and I'll read the following paragraph word for word from that article. It says, as we age, the gradual decline in muscle mass and strength worsens with each passing decade. This decline can be attributed to several factors, including reduced dietary protein intake, decreased physical activity, a decline in hormone levels, chronic inflammation, muscle denervation, mitochondrial dysfunction, infiltration of fat into muscle, and insulin resistance. That's a whole laundry list of things. So essentially, protecting your muscle mass is like increasing your savings. The greater the savings, the more comfortable you will be as you age. Now, please consult any medical or fitness experts when proceeding with any changes, but here's what I read from that article. So, strength training is the medicine. Resistance training activates our DNA to respond to stress, leading cells to produce increased muscle protein. Strength training can counteract the accumulation of fat in the muscle, improve the health of neuromuscular junctions, improve muscle quality, and reduce inflammatory markers. Now, I've noticed this myself as I seem to get more inflamed and sore when I haven't done any strength training in, say, 3 to 4 days. It's happening again because of my back pains now, and I haven't been able to go to the gym. Now, to achieve optimum improvement in muscle mass and strength, we should engage in resistance training at least 2 to 3 times per week per muscle group, in addition to any aerobic exercises. Now, resistance exercises that involve increasing the load and speed should be done under supervision to ensure proper form and to avoid injury. Protein intake is the next thing I'll talk about. Now, I found protein intake numbers and trying to pin them down to a concrete grams per day has been really difficult based on differences from different sources. In general, though, everything I've read suggests that protein needs increase with age. And studies have shown that higher protein intake is associated with greater muscle mass and lower risks of developing frailty in older adults. So protein intake should be individualized based on age, your sex, activity level, health status, but generally range from 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight, which for someone like me who's 150 pounds, that is a whopping 110 to 150 grams of protein. And since I only eat 2 meals a day, I don't believe I'm getting anywhere near that. So I need to figure this out. When I went to a different source like Men's Health magazine, it had similar numbers, slightly lower, but 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram of weight. So if I combine those two studies, we're talking anywhere between 80 and 150 grams of protein intake for myself, which is still a lot, seeing as it's difficult to get, even 30 to 40 grams of protein in a meal times 2 meals. That's on the low end. So I believe I am going to have to supplement more often than I am today. Well, that just about does it for today, folks. I hope you enjoyed the content of this podcast. It's a little bit different than what we've been doing the last few weeks, which was focusing on golf itself. My next podcast, I hope to have a very special guest on for episode number 12. So please tune in for that when that drops next week. I'm very excited about talking to this individual who is an accomplished author and podcaster. So until next time, have fun on the links, and we will talk to you later.